Okay, let's review because I didn't catch. Somebody asked me about jazz recorder. The first thing I recommend is learning the recorder. This is for alto. Um, this is for soprano, called Monkmeyer. That's an Italian edition. And there's alto. So learn to read sheet music for alto and soprano. I know at the beginning it can be confusing, but you need to learn both. Then you learn. I have this. This is quite advanced even for me. The important is never gloss over things thinking I know it. No, learn in depth. In depth. In depth. In the meantime, when you're learning the recorder, start listening to jazz flutists. There are many. The first one, Wayne and Carver, but there's not much material. But there are a lot off the top of my mind. Buddy Collette, Bud Shank, Wayman Carver, Herbie Mann, Paul Horn, Sam Most, James Moody, Frank West. I'm speaking about those that made the recorder. I play the recorder as well. The flute, a jazz instrument. Why do I not speak about the recorder? There's no tradition, but I know it's not exactly the same thing, but it's as closest thing to the recorder. Okay, some things you hear on the flute, you will not be able to play in the recorder. Some things you hear on the flute are not, because we have an embouchure when you play there, but on the other side, some things you play there on the recorder you cannot play on the flute. So once you know how to swing, then what should you do? Buy a method that teaches you, if you don't know, the basic of harmony. The grades, what chords are built on the first grade of the scale, on the second, third, or minor and I have this. This is things I have since the late 70s. This is called Downhill Skills for Jazz Improvisation. This is the first page. Teaches you how to practice. Okay? I even copied. So, Skills for Jazz Improvisation by Dan Harley. Dan Harley, Haearle. But start doing this after you practice the recorder in depth. That means I'd say 6 months of reviewing your methods and playing every day at least 1 hour. Sorry if I say that, but it's not too easy to play jazz recorder. Then I'm patterns for jazz. Jerry Coker, Jamie Casale, Gary Campbell, and Jerry Green. Also this I've been practicing. I started practicing on the flute because I learned before. I started on the recorder when I was 14, but I played jazz on the flute. Okay? three years later. Then you can listen to other jazz recorder players that play jazz. There are not many, so you can also listen to, and you can practice all the material that is for jazz flute or saxophone. Some things you will not be able to play, like a B flat on the saxophone. Never mind. You have to be creative. You have to make the most what you have. Okay? That's my piece of advice. Don't think that you have to read music specifically written for jazz recorder. That's bullshit. Some people do it. Those are people who cannot play jazz to save their lives. There's no point in playing jazz if you're reading everything. It's better to make mistakes, but you're yourself than copying everything. So jazz is not Baroque music, okay? At least the way Baroque music is now, because in the past it was more similar because people actually improvised. That's my 2 cents about a jazz recorder. There are no secrets, just hard work and a lot of listening. Don't underestimate listening. In the first phase, I'd say, first 6 months, you cannot play jazz. You can play melodies, yes, but you cannot play jazz. Actually, you start from the other things. I strongly recommend playing starting from all kinds of jazz that are easier to play from the point of view of harmony, okay? But I'd say buy 2 or 3 methods. Buy things to practice the recorder other than the method. I like this a lot. I know it's not jazz. Forty studies for auto record adapted from the solfeggio of Frederick the Great. I like it. I like it a lot. That's my understanding. So, sorry, I have to put everything. In place. No, I cannot find my flute method because I started also the flute after a long time. That's my flute method in Italian. So my understanding is this, the way I see it. The flute, for me, I like the flute. It's a Trojan horse. It's very difficult to get gigs and to be taken seriously playing the recorder. But you need to be smarter than that. I play the flute in order to be accepted. Then when people listen to jazz recorder, some people can even like it more than the flute. But people have biases. You have to get around. And I'm not telling you have necessarily learned flute. If your goal is, I want to learn jazz recorder, you don't need to learn the flute. But take into account that from flute is easier, fingering is easier. There's problem embouchure. it's much louder than a recorder. But stylistically, they're very close. They're both flutes. In English, they're called recorder, but in many languages, in Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, they're called sweet flute, flauto dolce, flauta dosi, flauta dulce. Not in French, it's called flute à bec. Okay, that's it. I think I made my point. So there's no secret to learning jazz flute. You need jazz recorder, sorry. You need to learn the recorder and you need to learn jazz. Then you put the two things together and then it's a constant strive. But it's worth it, in my opinion.